you have a brand new investment. So what's that?
Okay, so uh, I should probably be able to speak to this a little bit better. But last week we talked about how sort of microcaps are kind of an interesting investment area that I can't really invest in very easily without it affecting either me or the portfolio subscribers, depending on how I share that information. And it's sort of like theoretical. At least it was a week ago. It was theoretical, and then I ran across a microcap company that was worth roughly $100 million, and then I thought, this is kind of interesting. Let me look into it a little bit. And how do you say Anthony's last name? Pompliano?
Anthony Pompliano.
Okay, so Anthony
Yeah.
Pompliano is the CEO of this company that primarily has a bunch of Bitcoin, and then also has a um, investment application for investors to evaluate their portfolios. Ironically, this is an area that we've been exploring, and we might have a product in at some point in the future. It's sort of like we're not talking about that right now, but it was an interesting company. So the fact that it has a bunch of Bitcoin assets and is in the fintech space were both sort of made it interesting. And then I saw his videos talking about the company. It's what, BRR Capital, something like that. What's the full name?
BRR is the ticker. It's ProCap Financial.
ProCap
Is the name of the
Financial. Thank
company.
you. So, and you can kind of tell how like I remember things. It's like terrible, but I don't remember names and things. It's just the way my brain operates. But in any case, what was intriguing about this company is that they have roughly 5,300 Bitcoin and about $100 million of debt, plus $14 million of cash. So if you do the math, this company should be worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 million. If you sort of divide it out by their number of shares that they are outstanding, it should be somewhere north of $2.80, maybe $2.90 in terms of like actual value and assets, like very liquid assets. If they were to like liquidate tomorrow, that's roughly how much per share they would have, assuming that the financial information that Anthony Pompliano shared is accurate. So that sort of like was intriguing, and they were trading at like $1.56, something along those lines per share when I started buying them.
Yeah.
So I decided, okay, this is an interesting microcap. I want to do a little experimental investment in it, and then I'm curious to see what will happen as I buy the shares, and then what will happen after I put it into Savvy Trader. And sure enough, both my own purchases of the shares caused the stock to move up a little bit, and then post me announcing it on Savvy Trader, it also started to go up pretty substantially and has gone up to this day. But also that's partly driven by the fact that Bitcoin itself is also going up, so their asset value is going up as well. So I don't know how much of that is because of me sharing it on Savvy Trader and how much of it is because of Bitcoin, and also Anthony himself is promoting it heavily on X. So, but in any case, I only put 0.2% of my portfolio in it, and it immediately, like within the minutes following my purchase and putting it into Savvy Trader, the stock did move up very noticeably, as much as like 10%. So this is going to be a problem. Like I might not be able to share microcaps on Savvy Trader, and I also like don't necessarily have a huge interest to invest in microcaps in general. So this was sort of like an experiment for me. I might exit the position. In fact, I will likely exit the position if it reaches near or goes beyond the what I would consider the net asset value, which is roughly $2.80 to $90 a share, depending on the price of Bitcoin. So I'll pre-announce it that I haven't exited the position, but I will likely exit the position at around that type of investment price, or possibly slightly before. So just in case I do exit it, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But yeah.
And So is this more of an investment of they're holding over 5,000 Bitcoin. The stock itself is not worth less than that amount. So there's like this almost arbitrage play here, or is it that you're excited about this product this uh, AI investment product they're working on, or I should say AI financial product they're working on that's somewhat similar to what we've been doing?
The AI financial product I haven't personally looked at all or evaluated, so I have no opinion on it. But like even assuming the value of that is zero, which I assume it's not, but assuming the value of that is zero, the Bitcoin itself and cash is worth substantially more than the market cap of the company, and that is the primary reason I got interested in it. And then Anthony is sort of like an interesting character on X. He has both people who love him and people who absolutely hate him and think that he's a con. Based on what I can tell, it does not appear like he's a con. So I'm not of that opinion. It seems like he's trying to build a legitimate company that is public, and he wants to build it into a substantially larger company. His pay compensation is based around him making this company a success. So he has the right motives and incentives to do it. My issue is that, like, I can't really invest heavily into a company like this size just because my own purchases would cause the stock to move pretty substantially. And I kind of wanted to see like what would happen if I were to buy,
Right.
and I'm kind of curious what will happen when I sell, right? Like, hopefully nothing. Like, hopefully the company continues to thrive and does well, and the stock price just keeps moving after I sell. But it's not a long-term holding for me. And in the event, for example, the company quadruples from here because of such a small percentage of my portfolio that's in it, it would have almost no impact on my overall portfolio anyway. So this was purely an experimental play for me, just to sort of like see. And it happens to be a microcap. It happens to be one that is undervalued. It has more assets than it's worth. Now, one way to look at it, and to answer your question about arbitrage, is that like it's sort of like picking up Bitcoin at a discount, but it's not like you can turn around and sell that Bitcoin at the full price because it's the Bitcoin is in the company's hands, and what they do with it is up to Anthony. So it's not up to the shareholder, at least in the short term. So it's not an exact arbitrage type of environment, but it is, you could think of it as like their assets are worth significantly less than or more than their market cap is currently. So it makes it an interesting opportunity. If you enjoyed this clip, consider subscribing to the Buy, Hold, Rant podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. New episodes are released every Wednesday, and you can watch them live on YouTube.